In this lesson, you will see the calculations facilities inside CAD-Calcs and GraphicCalc. The calculations are used both for constraining geometry as well as for performing the engineering calculations. Uh, and the nice thing is that the tedious part of the engineering calculations are fully automated, as you will see. There are a lot of facilities that come into play for calculations that you can use to really set up a problem and get a very fast solution. So let's look at some of the facilities first. So I'll start by drawing a line, and if you click on any entity in the worksheet, you see the values that are controlling the freedoms of that entity in an area. We call this the value bar. These are the values which are controlling this entity. So for example, the H value controls the horizontal displacement of this line. The V value is controlling the vertical displacement. A is the angle of the line, and L is the length of the line. And if you want to constrain any of these values which are controlling and constraining the geometry, then you just click on the constraint. For example, I want to constrain the angle using a formula, so I can just click on the letter A, and a formula bar opens. And this formula bar, as we mentioned, is syntactically like the formula bars found in popular spreadsheets, except you don't have to enter an equal to here to enter an equation. So let's say we wanted to control the angle of this line by a small calculation, let's say 20 degrees plus 30 degrees. So I want the angles line to be 50 degrees, and this OK button here verifies the syntax. Make sure that the units are correct and you have not made a mistake in the formula. If there's a mistake in the formula, most often the cursor will be automatically placed where the error occurred. So when I click on the OK button, now the line is constrained by a calculation. For example, I want to constrain a line whose angle is the difference between the angle of this line and this line. So I clicked on the line here. I click on the angle thing here, and it's a line angle minus this line's angle. So you can see that the formula bar is being used to set up the values in the value bar which are really constraining the geometry. For example, if I want to have a circle whose radius is equal to the length of this line, notice the built-in functions are popping in automatically, which are context sensitive. So when you click on a line, the default function is length, so it automatically puts the length built-in constraint. And I will show you how to switch the constraint in a second, but let me set up the formula here. Let's say the length of this line plus the length of this line minus the length of this line. So now if I say the length of this line is, let's say, 5 inches. Let me put a smaller number, let's say 1.5 inch. Then you will see the circle updating automatically. One thing you have to keep in mind that the formulas have to be unit matched and the syntax has to be correct. If you make a mistake, you will get a feedback. For example, if I enter the formula here, let's say I want to constrain the angle of this line, and I put 30 degrees plus 1, and I forgot to put in the units for the second number that I entered. When you click here, it will give you a message here which will give you the error message actually. So to correct it, I can go and say make it 1 degree, and now the formula will work. Also, you can get feedback from the formula. Firstly, you can name entities. For example, let's call it A, and let's just click on the right mouse button, B, take the cursor over the entity, right mouse button, properties, C, and like that, D. So now when I look at the formula for this circle's radius, you can see that it tells you it became B, C, and D. It's corresponding now to the entity name. And you can get a feedback from the formula, any calculation. Just double click on the entity and it'll highlight the corresponding geometry, dimension, or cell. So this way, if you see a worksheet and if you see a model in on your worksheet, you can interrogate it. So the value bars are really context sensitive. The software has the intelligence to know what is the value that you're looking at. Let me explain to you. So like I created the line here, and I clicked on the line. It gives me all 4 of the values that are controlling this line. If I just click on the point, it gives me the X and Y value only. These are the values which are controlling this point. If I double click here, it activates the length constraint, and now we have the X and Y coordinates as well as the L value, which is actually the length of the line. If I had a circle here, for example, if I clicked on the circle to open it, I have to select which value I want. So here it'll give you the X and Y value of the radius point, the radius of the circle, and the diameter. Whereas if I click here, it just gives me the X and Y point. So the value bars are activated based on what is the next thing you want to do. For example, if I have 2 lines and I want this line to be parallel to this line, so it asks me what is the offset here, and I can enter a value in a value bar box by just typing the letter corresponding to the value bar. In this case, I have to enter the offset, so I put the offset in here, press the O key, it highlights the value bar box, and then I can enter 1 inch, and then I click on the line here. So now when I open this line, it tells me that it's -1 inch, and if it was +1 inch, it would have been on the other side. Likewise, if I have a line here, and if I say that this has to be at an angle to this line, and these are explained in greater details when we see the lesson on the lines, but right now you can see that the value bars operation is automated. It knows what are the values, it knows the context of the software at any given time. So I can enter a theta value of 45 degrees with respect to this line, and now this is constrained to be at 45 degrees with respect to this. So if I change this line, you'll see that how it's operating. This is parallel. You can see an offset here, theta value. So the value bars, you can enter directly the values by just typing the corresponding letter in your keyboard. It highlights the